Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition. We're up to episode 149, May 24th, 2022. I've got the elusive Brad Wood joining me today. Welcome, Brad.
Elusive. How did you ever find me, Gavin?
Well, that green screen is really tough sometimes, but
sometimes I'm behind the green screen.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're always busy doing something, monitoring someone's audio visual somewhere. If it's not into the box or church stuff, it sounds like you're busy at the school today.
The local elementary school talent show today. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we get into it, we got lots to cover today, but we want to thank Ortus Solutions, one of our sponsors. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do this, right, Brad?
That is correct. Without them, I also wouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
So, yay, Ortus.
Yay, Ortus. Well, a few ways we can say thanks to Ortus Solutions. I'll say the most important one, buy some Into the Box tickets. Come to the conference. We got lots of cool stuff we've announced, and a few more announcements today. But yeah, definitely check out the conference. It's going to be great in September. And then,
as Luis would say, orders for the Into the Box tickets have already been flowing in.
Well, they actually have. We had some few people. I'm glad because people are already signing up for my workshop, which we haven't announced yet. But
did we finalize the workshops yet? Maybe we have.
Yes, we did. Kind of, sort of. I'll tell you about it soon.
Maybe we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So, what are some other ways they should say thank you?
Patreon. They should sign up for a Patreon. Is that what I was supposed to say?
Well, a few more other things too, but yeah. I mean, Patreon.
I'm not looking at the show notes. I'm just making stuff up right now.
Yeah, no, Patreon. We definitely want to thank our Patreons. We have 37 Patreons supporting us now, and they're providing 100% of the funding for this podcast, and we're already almost 50% of the way to funding ForgeBox.io, which obviously we have a lot of S3 packages for all of our downloads for the community packages. And so we're working our way towards covering that too. So it's awesome to see that support. And of course we have, if you guys can go like us on YouTube and subscribe on your podcast player, leave us reviews, all that's great. And of course we have CFCasts, which we'll be talking about later as well, free and paid accounts there. But we have a special Patreon sponsored job posting. Haggerty Motorsport Ridge is looking for 2 senior software engineers. And we got a little video, so let's play the video and you guys can find a little bit more about it from Brian himself. And today with me, I have Brian from Haggerty. You want to tell us a little bit about what you guys do over there?
Hey, Gavin, thanks for having us on. First, we're big fans of the podcast, so it's fun to be here with you today. I work at a company called Haggerty. I am a longtime Cold Fusion person that folks might know from conferences and so forth many years ago. And right now I'm leading a team at Haggerty, and we build a 2-sided SaaS marketplace called motorsportreg.com. And so this last year, we did hundreds and hundreds of thousands of event registrations for automotive and motorsport events. And right now I'm looking to hire 2 senior Cold Fusion and JavaScript developers. So we've got a pretty large and pretty complex Cold Fusion app. And we're also building a lot of Node and Vue. That's kind of our future technology stack. And so we're looking for 2 engineers to come join our team and help us basically build, enhance, and grow into the future.
Wow, sounds pretty good. I know that you did a lot of work with the CF payment library back in the day when we met way back in 2013 or something, I think at CF Objective.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was like basically battle tested because you guys put just thousands and thousands of transactions through it, right?
Yeah, the CF payment was a labor of love for me. I saw something that was cool in another language, and I'm like, we need that in Cold Fusion. I can say that library has probably processed, maybe $1 billion, not just from us, from lots of people who use it, but hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So yeah, we work at a pretty large scale. And the other cool thing is that it's consumer facing. So, my family, a lot of my family are accountants. And so the joke that I always make is you can build any kind of software anywhere, like you can build accounting software, but we get to build software for motorsports. And so one of the fun side effects of that is that we get to go to the racetrack and we deal with people who are really living out their passion. Like this is what they love to do for fun. And so it's a fun space to be operating in and supporting them at that scale.
Yeah, I definitely see a lot of pictures up on Twitter, and I do get jealous. But well, it sounds great. Sounds like you guys are doing great things in the community and in the industry. And yeah, so we got 2 spots available. So if you guys are interested, check out Brian, and we'll have more details in the show notes. So thanks a lot, Brian.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks again, Brian, for being a Patreon sponsor, and yeah, hopefully you guys got a couple of new jobs available there, and hopefully you guys are checking that out. I want to see if we get some good divs in there. I'm kind of curious who he snatches up for that. But we'll tell you a little bit more in the job section too about those positions. Okay, well, let's get into our news and announcements. And sneakily, last week, Brad and I and the Ortus team stumbled across the CF Summit website, who actually updated their site and now have official dates. And we've confirmed with Mark Takata. Into the Box did move for a good reason. We were hoping that they were going to have it on the same dates because we would have moved for nothing. But if you see my screen, October 3rd and 4th, the 10th edition of Adobe ColdFusion Summit, CF Summit 2022, is back. So it's been 3 years since they had it in Vegas. Pretty cool.
Really been 3 whole years?
Well, we had 2 years we couldn't do it, so this will be the third.
I mean, it feels like it's just crazy. It's been so long.
Yep. So it's going to be at the Mirage, which we've had it there before. It's been pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like it at the Mirage. So that'll be good.
Was the Mirage the one with the volcano up front that erupts every half hour? Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I like the Mirage. That was a good location. But yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to finally be able to get back to Vegas and see the Adobe ColdFusion team and see all the clients and people that I only get to see at that conference. Hopefully soon they'll have a call for speakers out. I mean, Ortus is hoping to maybe sponsor, but I know they're very early in getting all this information out. So
there is a speaker application button right here.
When did that appear?
Form right now.
Does it do anything?
Well, fill in your name and then submit it, and then
that's new. That wasn't even there a couple days ago. But
very cool. So,
but wait, when you submit that first form, does it actually ask you what you're going to talk on?
We'll have to find out. I haven't even done it. See, you guys are getting it so fresh. Here we go.
I'm going to go fill it out and see what it does. We'll find out.
So the cool thing is the event pass, $99. So again, they discount this dramatically, guys. So you're getting a steal of a deal. Adobe, with their marketing budget, is basically giving you $500, $600 off to get the event pass. But the premium pass has the ColdFusion certification training, and that is not the training you think it is. It is not the ColdFusion specialist training. It's a ColdFusion professional, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that later because I did some snooping and found out more about it. But the cool thing is that it's happening, and yeah, the certification program is going to be a little more updated. Apparently, it's hard. It's like a professional. Like, you have to be good to do it. So, and Eric said he's testing in the chat. It just accepts the application, no second steps. I don't know if that means they're going to chase you down or not.
Well, it says application received. We'll be in touch shortly with more information.
Yep.
So that's what happens.
Yep, and Vil in the chat said that Brad does not look like Daniel at all, and you're right, Vil, he doesn't. We just tried to swap it out and trick you. Daniel's been on the show a couple of weeks, and Brad was actually available to make one, so we thought we'd better snatch him out while we could. That's why we told you he was elusive.
Get it while it's hot.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, so we'll tell you a little bit more about the CF Summit, but it's great that it's announced. It's going to be official, live in person for those able to attend, so I'm pretty excited. And then Into the Box. We've had a few updates lately, Brad. You want to tell us about the speakers? We got the second round of speakers announced, too.
I have no clue what's going on. I just know that we've been going through picking sessions and trying to wade through all that. I haven't even looked at our announcement for round 2 of speakers, but I know that we put some information out about what the sessions are.
Yep.
You guys going to make me talk about something this year? What's the story with that?
Yeah, apparently you're going to talk about ColdBox task scheduling demystified.
Oh. All right. That's what Luis signed me up for, eh?
Yep. There's quite a few.
I always enjoy getting to find out what I'm going to speak on. It's such a fun time for everyone.
Yep.
See what Luis randomly put in for me, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, obviously, the other speakers put their talks in, and we had to choose. And there was like 50 sessions we had to pick from this year.
Yeah, we had a lot of sessions, which is a fantastic problem to have.
Yep, exactly. And so it's really hard. We got a few people on standby still. We've announced almost all the speakers, so we actually have 2 rounds. So we've announced a lot of sessions, but there's still a couple more coming pretty soon here. So, but yeah, for the Ortus ones, obviously we try to mix up who's talking about what, because we don't want Luis talking at every session. He'll run out of voice. So we spread it around and. But yeah, so there are a few more announcements coming, and like the announcement that we mentioned, we had the first 4 workshops that we announced, and due to a Twitter poll, the last workshop was decided last week: VueJS Spa and mobile app with REST APIs. So that's my workshop, and we already have a couple people signed up for it, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Did you pay off the Twitter bots to
I didn't.
just go vote for your thing?
I didn't actually, because I was thinking, your one was actually pretty good, like CommandBox. Like we can't go past that, but I'm sure, like Vil said, I mean, you could talk all day about just the bullet train. So like,
Yeah, we should have a dedicated bullet train session. We talk about all the fonts and the colors. Oh man, I could make that happen.
Yep, exactly. Well, it might happen. We're trying to get some ad hoc rooms available for certain things, so we might have a Brad train. So, and another announcement. Again, is Foundeo is going to be a sponsor again for Into the Box 2022. So we're happy to have Foundeo on as a bronze sponsor. So
well, I don't think I've seen Pete Freitag in person either since whatever the last conference was.
Yeah, and I thought I heard that he may not be able to attend in person this year, but
that's unacceptable. Pete, got to get there.
Yeah, but just a rumor. But we're going to do what we can to have a few of those people who are unable to travel, the staples of the community, involved in Into the Box anyway. So you'll have to come back for more updates on how we're going to try and do that.
And I completely forgot about my new soundboard here. I've had all these missed opportunities, like, Into the Box. Right? And what do we have? CF Summit. See? Oh, I forgot to play with my toys.
Yep, exactly.
Sorry, missed opportunities.
Yep. And then for those of you that aren't in the CFML Slack channel, you should be. But Sean Caulfield posted a tweet about how they've set up Linen, which cfml.linen.dev. You can actually see most of the channels, a lot of the conversations going on, so you don't even have to be in Slack to be able to basically get in there and check out what's going on. So I thought that was pretty cool, like a nice little way to snapshot what's in Slack, and obviously there's a ton of content, a ton of people. The CFML Slack channel is a happening place, and if you click join the conversation, it'll take you to the cfmlslack.com window. If the link worked.
Yeah, and there's 2 things this gives us, unless I'm incorrect, is it gives us a history past, the 10,000 messages, right? So we can see what was talked about, and it gives us like public Google searchability, right?
Which is very cool. Correct? Yeah, those are 2 of the biggest things that we were really struggling with Slack, and that's why the Ortus community was built too, right? So we could have more of those long form conversations that didn't get lost in the the flying threads of Slack. But Slack is definitely great for what it does. But so cfml.linen.dev, you guys can find out a little bit more and check that out too. So, and I'm gonna try and start sharing some of these things on here. We got so much going on. Kind of a crazy day with Brad and all his audio. So, but yeah, so lots of cool little updates there. But let's talk about some news and announcements. So, Brad, first up is CommandBox 5.5.2 release. Want to tell us why it's important and what you've been fixing? Because there's quite a lot of things on that. The bug fixes, improvement, and tasks for this one, right?
Well, yeah, it was about a dozen or so. So basically, CommandBox 5.5.0 came out like 2 weeks ago, and no sooner did what was the first thing I patched? No sooner did I start to like begin the release process, and we found some regression that I had to work around, which is why the blog post was for 5.5.1. But anyway, because there's one little thing that got fixed. But there was a couple little regressions, some stuff that needed to be worked around, because the CommandBox 5.5 represented about 6 months worth of development. And so I finally had a nice little collection of kind of just regression fixes in CommandBox and some of the other stuff. And so I pushed that out as 5.5.2. So I do recommend you go ahead and update to it just to make sure that all those little bugs are fixed, especially if you're using CommandBox with the Service Manager module for Windows services. We had a couple clients using that, and there was some tiny changes in how the new version of CommandBox works, which we found didn't always work very well. So anyway, just make sure on that latest version that has the newest Lucee, which like just came out the same day I released 5.5.2. So Lucee 5.3.9 build like 141, which is basically the same thing for Lucee, a little collection of fixes that I think is actually on our next thing, though you had the RC.
Yep.
But anyway, so yeah,
Oop,
Lucee
it's
had
not RC. Sorry, it's meant to be the full one. I just didn't change the title.
yeah, final, exactly. So Lucee had their own little like, let's fix some of the little regressions we had in our release, and I basically had the same thing. So you upgrade to CommandBox, you're getting the latest and greatest Lucee, you're getting the latest and greatest Undertow. All the libraries are all updated, and as usual, if you find any more bugs, I don't want to hear about it. No, I'm just kidding. If you find any more bugs, let us know about it. But that's the latest update, and it's just a little patch release right now.
Okay, cool. Yep, and then as I mentioned, I was in the Adobe channel of the CFML Slack team, and they were talking about the Adobe CF Builder release. And so Mark on Slack, in a bigger conversation, because everyone keeps saying it's like, I thought they were meant to be announced like last quarter. And he's like,
oh, man.
I know I sound like a broken record.
I have a button for that. Oh, awkward.
Yeah, so he says, I know you sounds like a broken record, but it's really close. He's had a couple of really long demos this week, one left. He says looks really good. He's using the latest build for all his demos, and it's right there. He said there's one dumb bug that's probably already been fixed, but he said keep an eye out for the VS Code basically during developer week. He's pushing for 2 talks for it because he says there's too much time. Not enough time to cover everything in an hour. Sorry, go ahead,
just
Brad.
to be clear, Adobe ColdFusion Builder used to always refer to the Eclipse-based IDE, but when we use it now, this is referring to the new VS Code-based IDE, and they've kept the same name, Adobe ColdFusion Builder, but it's now a different tool on a different platform. So some people hear that, they're thinking this is the Eclipse-based one. This is the new, amazing, long-promised VS Code plugin.
Yeah, it was announced when they released 2021. Actually, before that.
Yeah, it was announced before that. I think most people anticipated it was going to release with ColdFusion 2021, and who knows, maybe it was planned that way, but it is taking a little bit longer.
Yeah, but that Slack thread talked about, the debugger, and stuff like that, and the server protocol stuff, and so I don't know exactly what it has, but they're asking Mark a lot of hard questions about it, and hopefully we'll find out in a couple of months here at the Adobe Developer Week where he'll be showing it off. So very excited to at least have a more definitive timeline there, because I know it's always been next quarter. So here we go.
Yep.
And in case you missed it, the Adobe CF engine updates are in CommandBox. We released that I think a couple weeks ago now, so if you guys do need that, 2021 is completely free of Log4j1x. Adobe ACF 2018 still seems to have some floating around in there, right, Brad?
Yeah, and that it's a little confusing because no one's been able to get an actual answer from Adobe on it. According to the release notes, Log4j 1 point anything was supposed to be completely gone. But then when people went to upgrade, there were a lot of scenarios in which there were still Log4j1 jars still there, and when you deleted them, it wouldn't start. So it has been pointed out to Adobe, but other than just, we've escalated this and we'll get back to you, there hasn't been any word. I'm guessing it's oops, crap, we missed one. That's my guess. But anyway, so yeah, if you're on 2021 and you're on CommandBox 5.5, you can finally have a deployment that is 100% free of Log4j. In 2018, apparently, you're going to have to wait a bit longer. I don't know.
Yep, for sure. Okay. So let's get to webinars, meetups, and workshops. And first up, this week, we have the great Michael Bourne talking about clearing the fuzzies on fuzzy search. And he'll be talking a little bit about why your database search is not smart enough. And there's some cool plugins out there for databases, but CB Elasticsearch is pretty awesome. And so I'll be showing you how you can add the power of fuzzy searching to your ColdFusion application.
Is it going to give me warm, fuzzy feelings?
It might. It just depends on how cold and sharp you are to start with. But yeah,
I'll have to tune in and find out.
Yep, but it's a cool session. He's done a lot with it lately, and we have a lot of cool stuff happening with CB Elasticsearch. So you guys should check that webinar out. There are other webinars, of course. The previous ones are up on CFCasts, but if you can go register, it'll remind you, add a calendar thing for you. But that is the 27th, 11 a.m., so Friday morning, 11 a.m. Central Time. Okay, looks like we got the Seattle Cold Fusion user group coming back too, Brad.
I see that here. They're restarting, and the first talk is going to be by Leon O'Daniel, and it's going to be sending SMS messages in Cold Fusion using the Twilio API, which is something that we do for some of our clients, and it's really easy. I love the Twilio APIs. You can do just a crap ton of stuff with them, so that should be very useful.
Yeah, we're tying into that and some phone call connection things, right? Where it'll call the agent and then call the person, and then once they both answer, it'll connect them and stuff like that.
Yeah,
there's all sorts of cool stuff going on with Twilio, and SMS message is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. We did a Twilio integration as well, where when people called in, we would hit the data. We would hit a webhook on our end, run some Cold Fusion code, figure out where to transfer them to. It was really, really easy. Yeah, I just love the Twilio stuff. I tell the guys that every year at DevNexus, I go over to the Twilio booth and I tell them, I love you guys. It's really awkward to them.
And Eric Peterson just said, Twilio is my whole life right now. And it is. I know there's proof. That's all he ever works in, but he's doing awesome stuff with it for some of our clients. So, very cool. Okay. So, next up we have some Adobe workshops. So, the 26th, so tomorrow, it's going to be 10 a.m., the webinar Exploring CF Administrator, Part 1, with Mark Takata. So that's going to be a cool little session. And then after that, we have a few more workshops coming up soon. And so that is June 15th at 9 a.m. We have the American version, so the Brian Sappi Eastern Time Zone Adobe Cold Fusion workshop. And then we have on the June 22nd, we have the European version with Damien Bruendonks. He's going to be doing it at 9 a.m. Central European Time, not Central Time. Again, Adobe Cold Fusion workshop. And they have a little list here for getting all their information, all their upcoming webinars and workshops and everything. So I'm sure that in the chat as well. So lots of cool content coming from Adobe. And of course, Adobe Developer Week and the CF Summit as well. So they're busy. And then in the chat, Daniel Garcia says he uses Twilio for his home phone number. Really? I used to use Ring Central to do some redirecting for business stuff, and I thought about switching over to Twilio. I haven't actually done it. I might have to learn about that sometime. Okay, let's get on to our CFcast content. So we've got more videos. I've been busy, haven't I, Brad?
You have been busy.
So I have 2 more videos in the Publish Your First ForgeBox package, and we got basically just a few more videos left in the series. I'm basically going to show you through the web UI and everything, but really that series, it's more than you need to know for your first ForgeBox package. You go over lots of different things, and they're all free, so you guys can go check them all out, because we want everybody using ForgeBox. So, you don't have to be a box product. You can put up anything there pretty much, and there's a lot of cool things up there. We've heard about CFWheels and everybody lately putting up their packages, so it doesn't have to be a box product.
Really, all you need to know just to publish your first package is the publish command. There, You're done. That's it.
Yep.
But you're given a lot more good information. Yep. Yeah, we see a lot of libraries that people have out there in a GitHub repo, and we're like, hey, get this good stuff on ForgeBox.
And that's actually one of the coming soon series. I have a series coming up called Boxifying a Third-Party Library. And so we're going to be using a couple of examples. Ben Adele gave us some permission to boxify some of his, so we'll get them up on ForgeBox and then show you how to make them more ColdBox friendly as well. But just getting them up on ForgeBox is easy, but we're going to try and make it easier for other people to integrate with them too. And then Logbox 101, Eric Peterson's going to be releasing some of them very soon, and we've obviously been releasing our ForgeBox Module of the Week snippets and our VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week. So we got a couple of videos the last couple of weeks. We have a few more, and then we'll go back to just one a week, honest, and that way we'll be up to date. But we wanted to get all the 2022 videos out for you guys, so they're almost all up there. So if you don't want to watch the entire podcast because you missed a couple months back, you can just watch the ForgeBox Module of the Week. So, but yeah, lots of content there. So remember CFCasts.com. There's free and paid content, and a lot of the stuff is free, and including some of those into the box videos. So some of the great ones from last year we've put up there. So go check them out, get hyped up for Into the Box, and hopefully you'll want to snatch a ticket. Speaking of conferences, Brad, what do we got going on this week?
Well, this week there is the Microsoft Build, which is today through the 26th. Says they explore the latest innovations in code and application development. So I'm not sure what all they cover, but it's Microsoft. So nobody ever got fired for buying Microsoft, right?
Yeah, well, I'm curious now too, because obviously VS Code is a Microsoft product. GitHub's a Microsoft product. I know they're talking about Microsoft Edge, but no one's as excited about that as the other two. But yeah, VS Code and GitHub. I know last time they showed us some cool stuff with GitHub Actions and everything, and how they use the VS Code dev tool to build into GitHub. There's some cool stuff that they have been doing, so I'm sure there'll be some great stuff there, even if you're not a .NET fan.
Looking at the website, they have 5 sessions that are live right now. Ooh. And it looks like 2 of them are in Spanish and one's in German. Wow, interesting.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff. So a lot of sessions coming up. So yeah, but they do have some different time zones, which I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah, I think they're multicasting some of these in different things, which is actually pretty cool.
Yep. Different languages, different time zones, different presenters. It's pretty cool. And then another one this week. So tomorrow is IonicConf, the free Ionic conference. That's a full day of talks from the leaders in the web community showing off Ionic. And so Ionic's kind of a long way. It used to be Angular only, and now they're doing Vue stuff, and they're trying to do native stuff as well. So if you're looking for an app solution, maybe Ionic is the place to go. And if you go to ionic.io/IonicConf, you will see some cool stuff there. So I used to do some Ionic way back in the day, but I haven't done any for a while. Too much Quasar lately, I must admit. So what do we got next, Brad?
There's the US VueJS conference coming up in Fort Lauderdale, looks like. That's going to be in June 8th to the 10th. So it's like an in-person conference, if I'm reading this correct.
Yep. Beach Code Vue looks really cool. They got the schedule and everything announced now, so we should definitely be watching that online. I said I was hoping to get out there, but unfortunately not able to make it this year. I got too many Cold Fusion conferences, thankfully, so gotta pick and choose my conferences. So we won't.
Hosted by the creator of Vue.js and the core team.
Yep, looks like a really good one there. And then those, since I just mentioned Quasar before, Quasar Conf is going to happen again. Quasar is a cool little a little tool. Basically, it's a framework built on top of Vue. It allows you to build one set of code and deploy it everywhere. So spy apps, PWAs, mobile apps using Cordova or Capacitor. It's even got browser extensions now that you can export to. So it's pretty slick. And so they've got a conference coming up July 9th. Call for speakers just come out. So if you want to get something in, you got to June 9th for that. So
is this an online conference or
online conference? And it's really different. Like last year they had their first one, and it was just a 3.5-hour conference. They just had 7 or 8 little 28-minute sort of little talks, and it was kind of neat. So I was just rewatching some of them to catch up on stuff that I missed. So
who actually runs Quasar? Like who
it's just a small little group, and they kind of spread out everywhere, and so that's something I'm thinking about writing a proposal to speak there, because I do enough of it and I feel like I'm a salesperson almost. Like I've got every time I talk about something I'm going to be talking about Quasar again this year at conferences. So it's definitely a cool framework, and if you need to publish it to different platforms, then it makes it really useful. It's got great UI and great tools built in. It's got a nice setup. But yeah, it's basically just a small team sort of supporting it. But they've got like this one guy just released 72 different component videos. Basically every component in the Vue in the UI, they made a video for each one and released them on YouTube just this last week. And I mean, I really like it. Like, you think data tables are cool? Check out the Q table. And just the way they hook up to everything. And I mean, I'm doing some fun stuff with it, and I've showed it off at previous conferences, and I'm going to be doing more of it this year at the workshop and in my session. So it's pretty cool. And then we have that conference too.
That conference. What's
Yeah.
that conference?
That conference is something I never heard of before, but when they host stuff at water parks, I'm in. But they've got two different basic in-person events, but they host like monthly little conferences as well. But they've got one in Texas, which is happening, I think it happened last week, and then in Wisconsin, their one is going to be in late July. And then Daniel Garcia, who you guys thought was going to be hosting today, who isn't, he's actually going to be speaking. So he's going to do his session, and it was a really great session that he did last year Into the Box, and he's building on top of that and making it bigger and better. And he's going to be sharing that love and some Cold Fusion love with another conference, which is always cool. Right, Brad?
Yeah, so Daniel's little like speaker highlight page says under his name Camp Counselor. Is that his title for the conference? He's a camp counselor?
Yeah, they kind of play it off like you're on a summer camp for geeks. And so that's, yeah.
I see. They picked a theme. Oh, I see. Camp for geeks. So they picked a theme and they're sticking with it. That's pretty clever.
Yeah. No, it's pretty cool. So they've got that conference in Texas. Actually, it's this week. So if you guys are in Texas, a multi-day hybrid event. And then see they have That's Online in June. So it's a one-day, or actually it's 2 days. Man, I thought they were just one-day conferences. It's pretty cool. And then, again, that conference is where it's going to be, so in Wisconsin. But yeah, they have stuff all the time, and they just sound like a fun group. Daniel, obviously is really excited to be speaking there, so show him some support. And
Daniel, are you going to be there in person? Daniel's in the chat, by the way, which is why I'm talking to him and out in the ether right now.
Yep. Yeah, in person, he's taking the family. They're gonna have fun, and awesome. It's at an awesome location with a water park and everything. So I'm gonna have to present next year.
Nice. Well, you gotta sneak in all the Cold Fusion you can, man. Be like doing CommandBox stuff on your screen, and people are like, oh, that looks cool. What's that? You're like, this is called Bullet Train, my friends.
Yeah, I know. It's better than Oh My Shush or whatever the other one is that everyone uses.
Oh My Z Shell.
Z Shell, yeah. Okay, well, Adobe Developer Week is coming up soon as well. So July 18th through the 22nd, online, virtual, and free. And it's going to be back and better than ever. Apparently they had a good number last year and everything. And this week they're changing the format, so they're going to do it like old school Ortus Developer Week, where basically it's spread out over 5 days, a couple of different sessions throughout the day, so everyone can get a bit of work and take a break, watch a show, watch a session, and get back to it. So I think that'll be really successful.
So do we have any Ortus peeps hanging out at this one?
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I've heard that there may be at least one speaking there. They haven't actually announced all their speakers yet. Well, last time I looked, I guess I should double check right now and see, because they had
the Developer Week appeared to be an invite only sort of gig. They never had a call for speakers, so
no. So
I was not on their list of people they wanted to hear from. I see Pete Freitag's in there.
That's last year's.
This is?
Yeah, that's last year's speaker list.
What the freak?
Yep,
this thing's happening next month, and they don't even have their current speakers yet. That's it. No, I'm gonna go find Mark Takata and rough him up like that poor United employee you all saw.
Talk to Keisha.
Go.
I'll give you a hint. Talk to Keisha. but yeah, so they've got that coming up. They'll be announcing the speakers and sessions real soon. So I know that they're working on that. Like I said, I've talked to a couple people, and I know that they're talking to people about that. So we should have information very soon. But it's going to be a cool little session.
When it happens, you can be sure you will hear from it on the very next Modernize or Die podcast.
Yep, we will let you know because we're snooping. That's how we found about CF Summit, right?
We're always talking. Yeah. Gavin and I tripped across the CF Summit site like the day I think they released it. We're like, oh, it's live. And we're like, Mark, is this for real?
Yeah, we're like, wait, was this official or accidental?
Yeah, exactly.
Like the tweet that he had to remove the dates on originally. But yeah, so it's official, and we even had him say, yes, it's official. So October 3rd and 4th, the CF Summit Conference is going to be at the Mirage. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And then the day after, so they're doing the conference the first 2 days, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be their specialist, but it's not the specialist, it's a certification. It's Adobe Certified Professional. And so previous years, I think 3 years ago when everyone did it, it was the Adobe Certified Specialist. And so that apparently was easy, because when I was Calvin Stanton did that, and he's like, is this the same or is it different? And so copied and pasted and manipulated a little bit from what Mark said. He said the Adobe Certified Professional cert is totally different, much more difficult and comprehensive certification than the CF Specialist previously offered. He said that Mark, Nolan Irk, Dave Ferguson, and the CF engineering team, Alicia and Keisha, all spent a week together building the new one, and it is hard. So Mark highly recommends it as a test of your skills. He guarantees everybody will learn something new. Nice. And so we're like, well, is it just the one-day thing? You do a test or what? And he's like, there's over 100 hours of videos to go through before the one-day lecture and cert. So if you watch the videos, sit in class and take the exam, that's basically the program. He says it's no joke, it's definitely challenging, but super satisfying to pass. And he says, plus you get the access to those videos for a year, which is nice for going back and reviewing things down the line. So sounds like it's new, improved, hard, so it's going to be a real challenge. I think last time they had like 90% people passed, I think, or something, so maybe they're trying to really weed everybody out and make sure everyone is top notch. So they wanted to make their certification, real specialized and make it professional. Nice. So that's from Slack. Again, on the Adobe channel in the CFML Slack, you can go see, Mark's pretty active on there, and there's a
Mark's non-official information highway.
Yeah,
he provides us with.
I'm sure it'll eventually get to the website too, but yeah, sometimes you just gotta jump the gun, and that's what we're here for.
Gun jumping. Some people may be asking themselves, but Gavin, will Ortus be having any sort of training before or after CF Summit?
Well, Brad,
where do we get on that?
Well, I know that we're organizing it, so we don't have anything official just yet, because we only just found out officially about this like Thursday last week.
Yeah.
So we've already been calling, and obviously having the conference on Monday, Tuesday means we can either do it before or after. And so Saturday, Sunday is usually harder for people for travel and everything else. So we'll probably do our training probably the 5th and the 6th. So if you're looking at doing the Adobe Certified Professional, then obviously you can do that. If not, we'll have our training as well. We thought it was the same one. We thought it was a specialized. So this is news to us that it's not, because we were thinking, well, most people have already done it, so they won't be doing that again. But now they've changed it. We may change. So we're looking at doing some training right after it. So it'll either be the 5th and 6th or the 6th and 7th or some combination of. So we're not sure exactly. But
apparently all the prices in Vegas have doubled. Because I've heard that for CF Summit, Mark was talking to me about how the prices have just been crazy this year. So we've got to take all that into account and figuring out what Ortus can pull off as well. But we'll announce that as soon as we have a better idea of what we're doing.
Don't book your tickets for your flights yet without leaving a few extra days, because just tell the wife you'll be home Friday night and you should be good. Because no matter what, we'll be there.
Vegas.
We'll be having fun. Yeah. We're gonna be. I'm sorry. We're gonna be working hard, not having fun, because my wife might actually watch this podcast and she'll be in trouble. She's, I knew it. You going to Vegas for a conference?
You know what? You just be at Topgolf or the Brazilian Steakhouse. That would be one of those two places.
Well,
maybe
both. We will be. Yeah, exactly. One then the other. You gotta work off that steak. So we'll be there. We'll be doing something for sure. Let us know what you guys are looking for. And David already says after will be great. Exactly. So, yep. Topgolf for the win. We'll definitely be doing something at the Brazilian Steakhouse and Topgolf, and there'll be training involved.
I'm hungry already.
Yep, I know. Okay.
All right. Keep moving.
Yep, VueJS Forge. So 29th and 30th is a VueJS hackathon. Again, you can sign up for free, and you get basically randomly put with a team. If you want to do a company deal, it's like $2,000 for a 5-man team or a 5-person team, and you get some benefits like you get guaranteed access to the workshop, and you get Vue School annual memberships for every team member. But VueJSForge.com. I've signed up. I'm going to try and get on an individual team and see who I get paired with. So looks like fun. And that is VueJSForge.com. Okay. Yep.
Also, there's this little tiny thing called Into the Box in our show notes. Maybe you've heard of it. September 6th, 7th, and 8th. Obviously, that's our conference in Houston. We mentioned it earlier. Early bird pricing is available, according to the show notes, until May 31st. So
jump on that.
Yep. Jinx.
Oh, your Coke. Yep. So yeah, we've got a lot of cool things going on there. Like I said, we've announced almost all the speakers and sessions. The workshops have been announced. The website has been updated. So there's a lot of content up there.
And our blog has been getting almost daily releases, the ITB blog. So keep an eye on that as well. All these speaker updates, everything's been getting pushed on there.
Yep.
We have a team of people that has been constantly keeping our into the box stuff updated. So
Yep, we're trying to keep on top of that. And today you'll see the announcement of my workshop, and you'll find out a little bit more about what I'm going to do in that workshop as well. And we'll be having more in-depth descriptions coming soon on all the workshops, so that'll be flying out to the Box blog. And on the Ortus blog, we're doing little summaries once a week of all the stuff that's on the Into the Box blog in case you missed it, because we don't want to double post and drown everybody with all that content. So lots going on there. And Into the Box Latam has official dates. December 7th is going to be when Into the Box Latam is coming to you. And it's going to be pretty cool. And I know, Adam, we've already told you, but CF Camp 2022 is not happening. They're going to try again in summer 2023. But basically, it's too much uncertainty right now.
Boo! I know. I'm sort of disappointed, but not in the CF Camp people because they're doing their best. I can't wait for CF Camp to happen again. So
Yep.
I'm really crossing my fingers that next year they'll finally be able to get it off the
I
ground.
know, and
again.
it's going to be in June. We don't have to worry about pulling our kids out of school for too long. We can, my wife's a teacher, so I just kidnap her and away we go, and we'll have some fun. So we're looking forward to that. So a lot of great conference stuff coming up this week, next week, and the next couple of months. So let's get on to blogs, tweets, and videos of the week. So first up, James Moberg had one about getting width and height from an SVG. Because they're scalable, I think that's pretty cool. That you can basically get the width and height ratio, and then be able to use that in your code, so that way the aspect ratio is right, and you don't mess up your icons and stuff. But so he's got a cool UDF there, showing how to use it. So I thought that was pretty neat. But
Sweet. All right, we're gonna have to keep moving. I just realized we have 1,000 things left, and we have to end on time today.
Yep.
All right.
And so you want to tell us about this IP4? James Merberg tweeted about Isvella doesn't have an IP4 support for that. That's kind of weird.
But this 20-year-old UDF has. I'm surprised and I'm not surprised. But yeah, so apparently if you use Isvalid to validate an IP address, it'll only work on. Actually, it says it doesn't support IPv4. I assume it means IPv6.
No, he's just saying no. It doesn't have an IP validation.
It just doesn't do IPs at all.
Yeah, it's just not one of the ones you'd think Isvalid would have more options and whatever. But he's 20 years ago on the CFLib.
Yeah, I mean the regex isn't too hard to validate an IP address. But yeah, that's a good question. Why isn't there? What would be nice is if the isValid function in Cold Fusion was extensible and you could just add your own stuff directly into it. But I suppose that's another thing entirely. Anyway.
Yep. So, but that's pretty cool. So he's got that UDF right there, so you can go grab that. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking the same thing. It's I guess test box matches would be another similar thing, right? You want to match data types, and usually we resort to our own little custom matches. But
I rarely collect IP addresses as user input. Usually IP addresses come from the HTTP header data, and you're just trusting that it's obviously going to be a valid IP address already. So
yeah,
maybe that's why it's not as common. But anyway,
well, Vil says use a complete different library for those. Vil, if you want, share that. It would be kind of useful information if you could. And then someone just tweeted. I didn't even see it from the CFL Live group, but apparently there's a YouTube video of Dave Ferguson talking about are your database relationships in a rut. So this is an episode of the CFL Live podcast, but it just happened May 20th. But interestingly enough, I didn't see the whole blog. So maybe that was a live recording, and this is pre-release, so you might be able to see it before it's actually released on the CFL Live podcast itself. So I'll have to watch that one later. Dave does a lot of talks, and I'm wondering if this is a pre-release to what he might do at Adobe Developer Week. He's quite often an Adobe speaker, obviously working with the team creating the professional certification. So we might see something similar to this. So
sounds fun. There's also a blog by some guy named Gavin Picken. Who's that guy?
Some clown.
Says why should I use third-party libraries versus roll my own? That's a good question, Gavin. If only someone would answer that for us.
Yeah, that's a common question that we get, and in Cold Fusion, we seem to have this issue where it's like everyone wants to reinvent the wheel, right? They want to have that little bit of control, and they don't trust libraries and packages, and that's okay to a certain point, but third-party libraries have a lot of wins too. So this blog post, as the TLDR sort of says, it's like it'll convince you that libraries are not evil like so many haters believe. But choosing the right libraries can make you more productive and efficient, not necessarily lazy. But it also identifies solid use cases where using a third-party library in your application is good, and some of the red flags to sort of be aware of. Maybe some red flags will show you that it might be unsafe, unreliable, or poorly supported, or ill-suited. So it's not just like, hey, use third-party libraries, never roll your own. It's like, what should I consider when looking at them, and what sort of, why would it be good? Why would it be bad? And how to sort of make that decision. Because, as a consultant, the answer is always, it depends. And most things are in moderation, so hopefully, that's some good insight. And some people said some stuff on, on Facebook and everything, got some responses to some of the posts. So, hopefully got people thinking about it. And, so that's the point with that blog post, is to let you guys know that it's not all evil. Some third-party libraries are good, right? So.
Yep. So we also have another Wicked Good Development podcast, and that is a podcast done by the folks at Sonatype. And Sonatype basically runs Maven Central, which you've probably heard of. It's the package repository for Java projects. And so they were at DevNexus, and Luis and I were talking to them at their booth, talking about how to integrate like ForgeBox somehow into Sonatype to proxy through its repository product and everything. Anyway, Luis and I both did a little interview for their podcast. I assume you probably talked about mine last week.
Yeah, I actually listened to it, and it was really good.
Perfect. Yeah, it was really fun. We just sat down. Luis did the same thing, sat down in a room with them, had a little handheld thing, and just talked about open source, talked about how Ortus approaches it, how they make money, the 70-30 rule, which is our kind of internal rule of thumb where, the Ortus employees work on client projects 70% of the time and work on open source 30% of the time, and that way we can, keep the lights on, but we can keep stuff moving. Anyway, Luis talks about all that, and it's pretty fun. I just listened to it yesterday when it came out.
And I liked your one because you were that Cold Fusion guy that, like the boogeyman shows up on Twitter whenever you say Cold Fusion.
I prefer Microsoft Clippy, but yes.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
but yeah.
It appears you've said something dumb about Cold Fusion on the internet. Would you like me to correct you?
Yeah, so that was a good post too. But yeah, because it was like, they hadn't heard of Cold Fusion in forever, and they didn't know anything about it, and so it was cool that you you corrected their ignorance.
I happily updated them on the state of Cold Fusion.
Yeah.
So we also had the Ben Nadell corner over here.
Yep.
The first one, I didn't see this one. Code Kata, getting initials for a name in Lucee CFML. All right.
Yep. It was a cool little one. Just working through sort of a like a little exercise and trying to figure out initials. And I know from experience that this is not as easy as you think. I just worked on a big project where it was with publications, and every format came in different. So sometimes you had first names and last names. Sometimes you had last name, comma, first name, and all these different possible combinations. And I had to basically build a little rule engine that figured out, okay, how do I get the initials out of this, and which initials should be where, and so Ben worked through that, using some regex patterns and stuff. Which I love these types of things because I'm not as good as with regex as I should be. And Ben is kind of an expert, and so that was a good blog post for that. And
on the topic of this, this is not what Ben was doing, but in a similar vein, there's a really nice, I think, Lucee only function. I could be wrong. Called UC first, which will uppercase the first letter of all the words. So if you have like a lowercase name and you want to try to make it uppercase, that's a fun little one that's built into Cold Fusion. Yeah, that is Lucee only.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, like you said, dealing with names. If you've ever had to deal with like a legacy, I say legacy, like a mainframe database where they store everything in Cold Fusion, and you've had to try to take that and like put it back into like proper, capitalization, it's always harder than you think. So this is kind of fun to see all the edge cases that Ben, came up with, and then the code that he wrote to solve them all. Nice.
Yep. And then next up we have another one from Ben, and this one, SQL join tables are just entity tables with hard to name concepts. And this one I thought was pretty cool because using QB and Quick a little bit more, like we've talked about, like many-to-many relationships and how you've got the map tables that go in between them, and depending on what you put in them, sometimes you need to do a little more with them. And so So Ben sort of walked through this process, and he's trying to figure out how to name them and stuff. So
I don't necessarily agree with his overall premise, but I think being able to think about what makes an entity is kind of the core here. Because I commented on there as well with my rules of thumb of how I usually treat them. Because some people call them XREF tables, some people call them join tables, some people call them cross tables. There's all sorts of different kind of nomenclature. There's always a good question is how much data needs to be in it before it's really an entity of its own from your applications perspective, as opposed to just some behind the scenes inner join that happens. It was a good conversation.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say too. I like Ben's blog posts; they're great, but sometimes the gold is really in the comments, and so if you don't read the comments, you might be missing out. So, but
Ben also had one on parsing what he referred to as nullish dates, such as January 1st, year one, midnight, right? Which is basically like I'm forced to input something that's syntactically a valid date, but I basically want to not have a date at all. That's an interesting concept. But I've definitely seen that as well. You get some kind of like weird default values that aren't really a date, but they look like a date.
Yep. Basically, greater than one must be included for your day, month, and year. So that's all they put in there. But yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so he's got a little function to sort of fix this nullish date. It's kind of interesting. I know I was actually helping Luis. We were trying to debug converting some Java timestamps over to Cold Fusion and doing weird stuff with time zones, and that's never fun. So right after that is when I saw this blog post. I'm like, enough dates for this week already, guys. I don't want to deal with dates.
Dates have to represent half of the crap that developers deal with, I swear.
I know, I swear. If they had, we just need better libraries. And the thing is, like Luis brought up, those like in ColdBox's core, before we load libraries and modules, like we basically, we need some of that logic before we can even do that. And so, we could basically import something hard and then use it, and then we could load everything else up. So it's like he's like, some of that logic could live in a module, yes, for everybody else, but ColdBox needs it before modules are even supported, like just in the straight boot up. So
Ben also had one on dynamically enabling and disabling session management. I didn't see this, but I assume he's just using CF application action equals update. I'm scrolling through to see what he's actually doing here. What is he doing? I'm still scrolling. Oh, I don't know. I never actually saw it. How did he do it? Or does he just mean dynamic code inside of the application.cfc?
The pseudo constructor, yeah. Interesting.
Right, that's where this session management is set. Is he just setting it equal to something dynamic? Is that all he's doing? Oh, yeah. It is. Okay, so I assumed from the headline that he meant like enabling or disabling it like after the execution had passed from your application.cfc on into your framework. But no, he just has an if statement in the application.cfc pseudo constructor, which based on a cookie either sets this.session management to true or this.session management to false. And I've actually seen this quite a bit when people are trying to disable bot sessions. If you have just thousands of hits from bots, they'll try to detect, certain user agent names, right? And they'll set the, session timeout to be, 1 minute or 0 or whatever.
And James Moberg probably has a library for distinguishing which ones are robots or not, so we could do that.
Probably. A lot of people have created similar things. Of course, that assumes the bots aren't lying, but what a lot of people don't realize is that the application.cfc is recreated for every single request. Even though it looks application-y and like something that might run once, it actually runs for every request, and you can have different settings per request. A lot of people don't realize that, which is why if statements in here totally work. Yeah, James just put in the chat, I do.
Yeah, I know. I've seen them before. I actually thought about we should have some community type one where everybody updates, so we just have to worry about like, hey, this is the robot list for today, so we don't have to add our own and keep it up to date.
The first person I heard talking about that was Michael Dinowitz years ago, and a lot of people have done similar things. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left and about a couple more posts from Matt and Cameron. Will we make it in time, Gavin?
Probably not, but that's okay. We'll deal.
Yeah. We blabbed so much earlier.
So Adam Cameron, he corrected us because because he's been working on this little tiny TDD framework exercise, and we just kind of basically guessed at his intentions. He likes problems and solving them and everything else. And so basically us and the Working Code podcast basically got it wrong. That's what he said. Kind of got it wrong. So this is why he's doing this project. And the cool thing is like the main one I see is he wants to enable CFMLers to be able to run tests on TryCF. So he's doing that. And
that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially since when people put in tickets for Lucee, they'll usually include, I do, a TryCF example. It would be awesome to be able to have the actual test case in, in TryCF. Man, I would love that.
Yep. So that's why he's trying to do it. So basically, it's really easy to demonstrate, and that's one of the exact reasons there, Brad. And then obviously practical exercise and TDing some real code, and TDing a test framework is just kind of funny, slightly contrived, as he says. But yeah, and like I said, for this, largely in vain, he says, it's people like, I won't use all the words in there, but basically saying, like testing. Good luck with that, Cameron. But yeah, because a lot of people don't think testing is good or cool or anything else, and Adam's pretty vocal that it is. It's important, it's needed, and we should be doing more of it. And so that's cool. But yeah, I like this too, that he's actually trying to come up with decent code in a restricted environment. It's a challenge, and that's kind of what I thought of it more of as a challenge. Like he likes to challenge himself, and we all learn from it. So we appreciate that. But so he's got a blog just telling us that we're wrong, which is fine because we were. But that's very cool. I definitely like the TryCF motivation. So cool, Adam. Oh, and then by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, when we share my screen again, you'll see it. There's actually a little quote in his website header, and it's been updated. So let me share my screen again. And the next article, where basically he's got another article, this time no TDD. But you'll notice at the top it says, "Working with Adam Cameron, don't let that scare you. Daniel Garcia." So that's from the podcast. Because they're looking for, they've got a job opening. Well, they did have another job opening about working with them. So yeah, so this one here, just filler code, no TDD at all. So again, it's a great series. I think everyone should go and read it. It does get a little complicated, but he's actually like pulling out the time test framework using just inside us, using CHTTP, and all the stuff is like through TryCF, which is pretty cool. So he has his test suite and engineer URLs and outputs, and it's pretty cool that he's built this all inside of TryCF. So
speaking of pretty cool, we have 2 minutes left in the podcast. Let's cover jobs.
Okay, let's jump to it.
All right, full-time software senior engineer, Cold Fusion /C# in Plano, Texas. Full-time software engineer, Cold Fusion at Reno, Nevada. Full-time software engineer, Cold Fusion at Bloomington, Minnesota. And full-time software engineer, Cold Fusion at Roseville, California. So those are all from getcfmljobs.com. And those were all posted in the last week or two. So go to getcfmljobs.com. And also we have, again, our Patreon sponsored job posting, which we had a little video with Brian Giddinelli. Wait, I'm going to say his name wrong. I'm going to scroll back up the top and look at it.
Yep, but Motorsport Ridge,
Giddinelli,
senior software engineer from Motorsport. They're looking at engineers to primarily work with Node, VueJS, Cold Fusion, AWS to improve their platform and their build greenfield experiences. They got a 25-person team supporting like 1,600 organizations. I just posted the link if you guys want to, join their team, find out a bit more information about it. And we have a couple other links too. So we've got the Carol from the Working Code Pod, their team at Clear Capital is looking for someone. If it's long enough to fit inside the... Nope, the link is too long to post in there, so you have to look it up on the show notes. Sorry. But, yep. And then, Brad, if you need to jump off right on time, that's fine too. But we'll get the ForgeBox module of the week in here. So SendGrid protocol, which is CBMail services protocol, because CBMail already supports things like CFMail, file, in-memory, null, and other services like Postmark and Mailgun and everything. But this module allows you to use SendGrid. So SendGrid's pretty cool. They got a lot of categories and everything else. But one of the big things it does is it actually has SendGrid templates. So that's sort of one of the things that a lot of people using SendGrid really like. So you can actually use their templates.
Just to be clear, CBMail Services is already a module you install into CommandBox to be able to make sending emails much easier. This is another module you install alongside CBMail Services, right? And it adds even additional protocols into CBMail Services.
Yep, exactly.
Perfect. So we're not just extending CommandBox, you're extending other modules with modules.
Yep, it's one of the design patterns, right? We try to make it so when
Love
we
it.
create something, we create it so we can use it with what we want to use it with, but we make it so you can add other providers, so you can just tap into those as
Right.
well.
So that means if you use some completely unsupported way to send your mails and you're like, gosh darn it, I'd sure love to use CB mail services if only they supported, right? You can write a module like this one to add that provider in.
Yep, and the same thing happens with Logbox, right? Alan Quinton just wrote 3 more of them we're working on a little project, and he wrote 3
Nice.
more Logbox providers that'll be releasing soon. So that's the way we try and build things to make it flexible. So, yep, but SendGrid, if you're using SendGrid, use this module, and then CB Mail Services and all the power that's in it will now be yours. And the best thing about CB Mail Services is, if you're in development, you just say, send it to my files, and never ever send an email by mistake. That is huge.
Yeah, I
So-
love that for local development.
Yep. And even in staging now, I have a little thing where it says, send it to everybody in a file except for this, which I want to send somewhere else. But we'll talk about that another day.
All right, so VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week. What do we have? Active file and status bar.
Yeah, so this one's one of those cute little ones. Like, doesn't do a whole lot, but whenever you're on a file, it just shows the full path in the status bar. Sometimes at the
Oh,
top
you mean
might
like
have
at
it
the
set
top
up.
of the window?
That's actually at the bottom. So the status bar at the bottom. Some of the other plugins we have will have like the relative path at the top, and
'Cause
you can click into
normally-
different things.
Yeah, normally I have to hover over the tab to get the full path. I want that all the time. Give me this now. How do I install this?
Yep. So if you go to the marketplace, there's a link that we'll be sharing in the show notes. But basically, yeah, it's a simple little thing, and that's all it does. It doesn't have to be too fancy. You have a couple different settings in it, but basically that's it. And there's a whole bunch of little things like that make VS Code, user friendly and developer friendly, and and if you like it, add it. If you don't, get rid of it. That's what I like about
Awesome.
these extensions. Okay, well.
Well, that brings us to our Patreon supporters, right?
Yep. So obviously they make it possible for us to do this podcast, and then basically allow Ortus to spend its money on other things too. So we appreciate everyone who sponsors us, and then you get great perks too. So you get
Yeah, if you're a bronze sponsor or higher, you get automatic ForgeBox Pro membership and CFCast subscription. So
yep, that's
definitely
really
a lot
cool.
of perks for that.
Yep, and then on the Ortus community, you get your own little profile badge, and there's a special little forum that you can access, which is just for Patreon supporters. And so our big Patreons, we want to just again spotlight Haggerty Motorsport Ridge. They've done a lot of work. They've got a couple good job opportunities. Check them out. They're really cool, and we want to just thank them again for sponsoring. And then Vil de Bruin is back again, I think, as a Patreon supporter. He's been a long-time Patreon supporter, and I think he just signed up again. Yeah.
There we go.
So you want to rattle
All right.
off these names real quick, Brad?
Yeah, John Wilson from Synaptrix, Eric Hoffman, Gary Knight, Mario Rodriguez, Giancarlo Gomez, David Bellinger, Dan Card, Jonathan Perrett, Jeffrey McGee from Sunstar Media, Dean Maunder, sorry if I'm saying it wrong, Joseph Lamory, Don Bellamy, Jan Yannick, Laxma Terjahadi, Carl von Stetten, Jeremy Adams, Didier Lishnicki, Matthew Clemente, Daniel Garcia, Scott Steinbeck from Agri Tracking Systems, Ben Liddell, Brett DeLine, Kai Koenig, Charlie Earhart, Jonas Erickson, Jason Diger, Sean Oden, Matthew Darby, Ross Phillips, Edgardo Cabezas, Patrick Flynn, Stephanie Manji, John Wish, Kevin Wright, and Peter Amiri. Thank you so much to our awesome, amazing list of Patreon supporters.
Yep, you guys are awesome. We appreciate you, and thanks everybody else for supporting us in other ways. Keep an eye out for all the Into the Box updates coming out. Grab some tickets before the early bird's over, and don't forget Michael Bourne's webinar this Friday. So thanks so much, everybody. Sorry we got to run. Meetings are calling. So have a great week, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernize.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.